Definitely activate your attention to pick up on the subtleties and the nuance, because that's what we'll address. You ready to roll, Pedro? Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Hey, Pedro, don't be like that.
All right.
Recording.
And
Scene.
right. Yes. Oh, it's a big day. Big day. Big day. We'll knock this thing out. What we got is no. All right. So I got to be there 6 o'clock for this audition. It's 5 o'clock now. What? It takes like 20 minutes to get there. I'm straight. I got time to run through this a few times. This is good. Got my breakfast. We are. Do I have everything? I'm good to go. All right. Matter of fact, I think I'm gonna leave this thing a little bit earlier.
Answer the phone. Answer the phone. Answer the phone.
Do I have? Oh, there we go. Sure, got my bag and my headshots. What is this? All right.
I'm just gonna call again. He's just being annoying.
Check. The scarf is kind of hot. I'm not rocking that one today. Where
Come on.
are we going? Okay. Slow down. Got your headshots. Got your script. Got a wallet. Yeah. What? All right. What? 5:20. As long as I leave in a few minutes, I'll be straight. I'm good. All right. Cool. Perfect. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
What's up? How you doing? I'm in a little bit of a hurry, but what's up? You all right?
Yeah. Actually, no.
What's up?
You would never even believe me if I told you the story, but I'll tell you anyway. My agent just called me, and I just got dropped. And he said, this is the third commercial audition that I missed, and he's basically feeling like, we're not a good fit, and that, he can't work with me anymore. He said something about, I'm not measuring up with the other girls, and, I'm feeling really,
Yeah?
yeah,
Yeah.
right now.
Well, what's going...
I just feel like, I'm sorry, I know you're in a rush, but I just feel like every time I go, it's the same thing. It's the same girls, you know what I mean? And I feel like maybe this month I put on a few extra pounds or something, and I'm a little bit thicker than everybody in the room. And I don't know. It's like I'm competing with people that I feel like I'm better than, and it's just so annoying. It's the third time they called me back. And I don't know why would they call me back if they didn't want me to come in. And I told Rick, I said, listen, they're calling me in the room. They people want me. It's just I just need some more time, right?
Yeah. Well, listen, I think you need to slow down. I mean, we know what happened now, so we don't necessarily.
No,
need to
but
talk
seriously, when you think about it, like I don't even know what I'm doing. I just feel stupid. Like this is stupid. This is stupid.
You gotta watch your words. You gotta watch what you're saying about the whole thing right now.
No, seriously, but like who do I think I am though? Some action figure? Like I don't know. I keep going in for that kind of stuff. Maybe I just need to go in for something else. Maybe I should just like apply for a job over there with,
Listen, I hear you. I think I got the situation of what's happened. I don't know if we need to talk about that anymore per se, but listen.
It's a temp agency. I should just totally go back to secretary work.
15 minutes later.
I know. But you don't understand though.
Listen.
It's the third time they called me in.
Listen, you've been in New York grinding, hustling this thing out, and it's not easy.
You know what? Maybe I'm just too old to be acting and trying to be a dancer anyway. I just feel like who tries to do this after like 8 years? Who's still in the game after 8 years anyway?
Well, you do. Well, then tell me, what are you going to do next? Exactly. So when you ask who's going to try and do this at this point in their life, I think you already answered that question.
I think I just need to go back home.
And then what?
New York is just not for me.
So what's going to happen after that?
I'll go home and
listen to me. Hear me out here.
Southern Belle, my mother always wanted me to be.
Hear me out. What else is there for you to do? Honestly, what would you do if you knew you would not fail? What would you do? I'm
failing. This is I am failing. This is me failing.
You feel like you're failing now, but I dare to say you're doing. You're saying you're failing. I'm telling you you're doing something. And the failing part, the thing that feels like failing, is you doing what you know to do. You are an actor. You're an actress. Listen, I've seen you. You're amazing. Every part's not going to be for you. Every person's not going to see that thing necessarily. But you're an actor because of what's on the inside of you. You have a passion for this. You already know that. You've been pursuing this thing with all you have. So to say that you're going to quit right now, I don't even understand. Even you, I ask you what you're going to do next, and it's not necessarily clear right now.
I don't even know how I'm going to pay my rent. Like, I needed that job.
Well, listen, you might not have known how you were going to pay your rent, but what I'm saying to you right now is you know what you would be doing. You've said it to me yourself. You understand that this is what you love. This is your passion. Let's let this moment be this moment. Let's take it and let's go ahead and move forward, okay? Well, I have to run now, but I'm going to talk to you. Oh, my God. I got 10 minutes.
So you think I should call my agent back and ask him, like, if there's another chance?
Listen,
I can stay on?
Do you hear what I'm saying here? We're not talking about your agent. We're talking about you. This is about you being okay with being you and going through the process. This is about you saying yes to what you love. This is about you saying yes to pursuing that and just being all right with it. Don't make it any deeper than that right now. Slow yourself down. Let this moment be this moment, and we're going to be okay. All right? Okay?
Okay, just call me after your audition.
I'll call you, but do you understand what I'm saying?
I guess. I just feel like being me sucks right now.
This is going to be fine, okay?
If you say so.
I want to hear you say it. Say this is going to be fine. I don't hear a smile. I want to hear a smile through the phone.
This is going to
Seriously, come on. Break this. Come on.
David.
Listen, this is going to be fine.
This is going to be fine.
All right? Seriously.
Okay, bye.
Do you believe that? You believe that. We've been through more than
okay.
This. I got to run. I got to go, okay?
Thanks.
Okay, I got to go. All right. Got my scarf. This thing's too hot. Coffee. All right.
Yeah, we got to get out of here.
Hey.
Got to get to Midtown.
What's up? How you doing? Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're expected.
Thank you very much.
All right. So I guess I'm gonna come on in now.
No, actually, sir, the audition is over. The auditions ended at 6 o'clock.
What are you talking about? You said 6 o'clock, but it's only
6:05. Exactly. Sorry. Could have been great for the role, though. Maybe next year. Scene.
Okay. We're out of the scene now. Now, without too much prompting, we're going to move to this next portion here. Now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. I see you. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 people. We're going to do 6 groups of 4. So
People who you're closest to.
People who you're closest to. We're going to say, better yet, 1. Just count off.
1,
2,
3.
1.
You're 1.
1.
You won. Yep. Actually, I'm gonna let y'all be a group back there.
1, 2,
3.
4,
1. You're 1.
oh, 1.
2. And Destiny, you're 3. And Denise, you're 4. All my 1s right here, all my 2s right here, all my 3s right here, and all my 4s right here. You're supposed to get out. You're supposed to be like actually. You're opening up for you to. You know you're supposed to be like you actually did something good. I'm talking to somebody who's going to do the best. Get her here. What's up?
So make sure that, go with the 3s because there'll be one less. Oh, no,
Yep.
you have one of everything?
Yeah, there's.
So Eric, you're good, right?
And sound, y'all will be one. Be a group in yourself. The tech crew. All right. So my 1s, I want you to pick one from the bag.
Everyone picks one?
Everyone. Just no, everyone in. That's the group. For the group. My 1s. Where are my 2s? 2s. No, just one person and 2. 3s. Right. 4s. And my tech crew. Now keep this within your group for now. Grab one. All right. All right. Now, what you have in your hand, you all see, it's either a 12, one of the 12 simple thoughts, or it's one of the 5 questions. Now, the challenge that we're going to take, which this kind of includes the breakout within the thing, I guess. So, can discuss amongst your group where you saw, whether it's one of the 12 simple thoughts, or where you saw one of the 5 questions, whatever it is on your paper, where you saw that in action within the scene.
Or where you saw that it could be implemented within the scene. So
right.
it could have been something, an example of.
And where you saw. So
And.
you're going to discuss those 2 things. Where was it active? Where was it present? And where was it lacking? And let's just do that for now. We might add on a 3rd thing.
Okay.
But we're going to take literally about 5 minutes to discuss it, and then we'll come back
And we'll let each group with a representative speak on behalf of the group.
Yeah, pick one representative in the group who will speak on behalf, or you can do it collectively. Whatever.
Sure.
I didn't see the end of it.
Right. Malachi, what did you think?
Everything you need is inside. And as an
Now, I want to hear what you have to say. Did it make you feel anyway?
Yesterday, that when I was
That's good. One thing, just because you're younger, doesn't mean that you're not good. Well, first of all, I feel bad for being married. When you try to love as an actor yourself, you like but don't do another scene. We're all called to do great things. None of us can do it all. You saw that, helping each other sometimes doesn't cost. Helping one another. Cost him that audition, that part possibly. But at the same time, him constantly encouraging her to be herself, to be the great, believe in herself, is how I really felt that whole scene went down. Because it was how we apply that one principle in that. That's really all I have to say. Are you kidding me?
We're going to take about two or three more minutes, just so you guys know, and then we're going to talk about it.
Such a great job serving me. I saw a lot of things he was saying and stuff that I've heard before through her telling me the talent and I want people to notice it. And people are noticing it now.
What did you say?
They had everything we needed in them. Yes.
Perfect.
Pushed me because I've had these moments where I felt exactly like that. And I've said similar things. And I heard that same voice from Rachel. So it's very familiar.
Awesome.
Give about one more minute.
Anybody else want to share anything else at this point? We're good. Who wants to be our representative? You want to represent us?
Malachi, yes.
All right. So you're going to share all the thoughts that we had, and I trust you. Are you strong enough to talk about what Ashley said a little bit? Do you remember what she said? Well, you got to remember. Let's remember what Joe said.
So,
What? Well, we'll let you lead us, but I'm happy that you're doing it. But I'm going to help you with that to make sure.
All right, everybody, we are going to open this into the full group thing now. Seems like the thoughts are churning. Good stuff.
Right. Well, this is these are off.
All right.
Yeah.
Are there any groups that would like to volunteer to share first?
Malachi.
All right, group one. Let's hear it from Malachi, y'all. Let's give him a
Okay, Malachi. What happened in our group?
in our group, we talked about how we had the similar thing in the scene. How
Do you remember? What did you just talk about? What you felt?
I felt that yesterday when I went to the laundromat, my mom gave me the time to fold all the clothes. By the time we went back home, it's time to bedtime for that time. Like just in the scene, by the time David got back to scene, it was over.
See, and that's upsetting to you, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Good job.
Excellent.
Come up here, Ashley.
good job, Malachi.
Talk about how our group went down, what we had to do.
What was your...
So it was, we are all called to do great things, and we got different perspectives on what great meant. It was obvious that, Drea, or character of Drea, was going for something that she felt was like her career calling. But there's another perspective on what great was, and that great was really taking the time out to kind of be inconvenienced and to offer words of life and support to someone in situations where they feel like hopeless.
It's all good. It was just a slipped out the chair.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So in terms of we're all called to do great things, you know, one of the other things, like we discussed a lot in creating these scenes, you know, there's so many different ways to look at the principle and how the principle can apply to the moment. And there's an introspective piece of it, and there's this also kind of serving out, and we have both of those at play a lot of the time. So, you know, we were challenging ourselves, even thinking like, you know, we're all called to do great things. It's great that you choose to define what great is first, because that has to be an anchor. If my great thing in the moment is not connected to my larger great thing, then there can be this conflict that throws off a balance or maybe has me perhaps miss an opportunity. But as believers, you know, we also know that Yahweh can reconcile time. So when your heart's right and you're after the right thing, when you're really pursuing in the proper way from the right core foundation, the Holy Spirit can work things together. That doesn't mean we can't learn how to be more efficient in how we do things. So we just throw that out there. Excellent. Thank you guys. Group one. Give Group 1 a round of applause. I see Group 3 chomping at the bit.
Yes, we had out of the 12 simple thoughts, we were talking about not easy. Oh, okay. Yeah, so we were talking about not easily being offended. And we looked at it from a couple perspectives where we saw people being offended, at least we interpreted, and then where there were opportunities to be offended and there weren't, and where they would. So at the very beginning, I believe it was David, he had an important place to go, and he said 15 minutes later, and he was still talking about the same thing. He could have very, very easily be offended there that his time was being taken up, where he might have thought it was not necessary, that just get over it. And that's how men are. Look, just get over it. And the other one was the fact that Drea, I'm just speaking from the heart, she was in an unhappy place, and she wanted to stay there. And David was taking her out of there. And he could have been offended because he didn't get the response that he wanted right away. And we felt like she was kind of offended because he wasn't getting where she wanted him to be, which was, hey, I'm a failure, and I want you to agree with me. The other thing that she kind of could have got offended is because he kept on persisting that she say it in a certain way, that she smiles, that she does it in a way, which we actually saw a little change in her. And then the other part was when he went to the interview and we didn't see it play out, but how does he take his own words, and does he get offended because he missed that interview by 5 minutes because he was actually ministering to her and applying the principles? Now that it's easier to have faith for somebody else, but what happens when it's your turn, and how do you play it out? And we can talk about the principles and tell everybody about them for them, but then what happens when it's a part of our life?
Excellent. You know, it's interesting. Well, actually, yeah.
Do you want to just move on?
Let's
to the next group?
The next group. Let's go
That's
next
excellent
group. Let's go next group.
perspective.
Really, really solid.
Hey, everybody. Love the scene. I've lived that conversation on both ends several times in my life. And so our simple thought was everything we need is in him. And so some of the points have been touched on because it's a related thought or question. Slow down. David was constantly having to slow Drea's character down because her mind was kind of going a mile a minute and towards the wrong thing, which not really tied back to praying from a place of victory. That also includes believing and speaking from a place of victory, because he spent almost all of the conversation trying to steer her back out of that downward spiral. And so I tied the everything we need is in him to we need people to be Yeshua'd. We need people to be seeking, and that's why who you join yourself with and who you have relationship with is important, because we need the Yeshua in others to get us out of that downward spiral. Because, and I've been guilty of it too, where that conversation could have went, oh, I know, girl. Oh, you just gotta, let it go, and maybe you need to search somewhere else. It can go another way depending on who you talk to. We have to remember that we're ground zero. We're the value. We're the absolute value. Everything else around us is the variable. So we stay the same, which means we have to watch. We have to make sure we're confessing the right things. We have to make sure that we're setting our eyes and focusing our eyes toward the right thing. Because if we're moved by everything around us, people's opinions, what we perceive may not even be true about other people or the situation, then we start to be a variable, and we alleviate that by being Yeshua, letting Yeshua stay down on the inside. David said, he kept saying to her, everything you need is on the inside of you. And that's true for everybody. In our group, I'm an actor, but Valerie's on a new job. Everything she needs is in him. It's not, doesn't have anything to do with anybody else or the tactics other people have. Janice shared, with us about how she just got to a point with applying for jobs where she just stopped. She got some hot chocolate, sat on a park bench in the winter, and let Yahweh be Yahweh, and ended up choosing between two jobs after she applied for hundreds. And lastly, it's so easy to disqualify ourselves, especially, again, when we get off the focus. We stop meditating the word. We stop training. It's easy to find reasons or let other people dictate to us why and how we're disqualified. So that's pretty awesome.
Excellent. Well done. Good stuff.
Okay. So we can hear from the last group, and then.
Do we have group 4? Yeah, group 4. Yeah. Group 4. Come on down.
Well, in our group, the first thing we observed with Andrea was the words coming out of her mouth. She wasn't saying the right things. Oh, our question was, what's stopping you? Her mouth was stopping her. She was saying everything that she shouldn't say, even though she was being coached by David to say the right thing. She wasn't saying the right thing. The next thing was, what's stopping her was her decision to stay where she was. She said, I've already failed. And that made that caused her to come to a place where every other negative thing was beginning to roll in her mind. So she didn't see herself as failing forward anymore. She saw herself as failed. And you can fail forward. See? And that's what David was trying to do, her step to the next level. Yeah. With David now, he needed to get time management because he was fiddling around so long before she called him. He turned the phone off. Did you see that? He turned off the phone. So when he turned off the phone and she called, she couldn't get an answer. And his time management was very poor. So that is what was stopping him. But when they worked together, in the end, they came together and nothing was stopping them anymore.
Awesome.
I want to, excuse me. So the biggest part, and thank you all for sharing that, I'm sorry. I just wanted to chime in real quick as you come up.
I'll get this. Check.
The reason why we wanted to personalize the 12 simple thoughts and the 5 questions is because these are for us first. As we try to prepare ourselves to serve, we have to internalize these questions and these thoughts for ourselves. And I thought by portraying what I think are scenarios that some of us may deal with, whether different situations, I think it's important for us to know that any of us could be either one of those characters, and that it's always important to remember, no matter what side of it that you're on, that your confession is victorious and that your thought process is victorious. So the way you're thinking has to be from that perspective, but also the way, what you're confessing, what's coming out of your mouth has to as well. Because we can't serve others unless we ourselves have allowed the word to really penetrate our own being. So with that, we'll go to our champion group.
Tech crew, that's right.
Champion crew.
So we kind of did ours through mental telepathy. So I believe I can speak for my brothers. But we had teachers teach, fathers teach, love and stay. So I think this was probably the most evident in this whole situation. I mean, obviously, David had something that was very important to him that he was preparing himself to go do and audition himself. And when his friend called, I guess his first inclination, he heard the situation was to teach or maybe throw out a cliche. You know, hey, everything's going to be all right, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that, all the probably wonderful things, all the wonderful cliches that we know how to say. And then as she wasn't kind of going for it, she seemed to need a little bit more from her friend. He decided, you could see him make the transition to let me slow down and love my friend the right way. So that fathers teach, they love, and they stay. He spent the time with her to do what she needed. He probably even wasn't even thinking about his situation at that point until it was time to go, because now it was time to deal with my friend. So I think the main thing is that you could tell that he's a pretty heavy brother, is pretty profound, but people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right.
And that's it.
That's awesome. Now, it's so powerful.
Yeah, we have to share.
We have to share this because in the process of developing this, we challenged each other. Really, we had to address the questions, address the principles as we created the scenes, and say, all right. And for me, you know, if you all have heard me speak, I'm always saying like, all the tools apply all the time, but you don't have to use them all at once. It's grabbing the ones you have access to. And kind of in the middle of it, when we were saying, well, first we started with, let's just use the 5 questions. Then it went to, no, let's use the 12 simple thoughts. Then in the midst of that, Drea was like, well, what if somebody gets fathers teach, love, and stay? Like, what are you going to do with that, you know? And the challenge
was
saying,
that's not applicable. That's not practical.
Right, which gives you...
I was like, it's theoretical. But
right, it's more theoretical than this. But the beauty of it is that everybody, this is what happens when we come together. You get somebody's take on it that you weren't thinking about at all. And honestly, even to flip it, because y'all know how I'll extrapolate on ideas, I'm thinking to myself, when I was explaining it to her, I was saying, well, it applies in the way that if he was following after the Father, then he would have been connected to the bigger picture and he wouldn't have missed out on things. He was trying to teach, he was trying to love, and he was staying in the place where he didn't need to stay because he was in his own understanding. But thinking of that one of the 12 simple thoughts gets all of that going in your mind, so it's all at play. So it's not that there's not a right or wrong answer at all in any of it. We're stimulating the thought of it, and so this is just a big...
Yeah, because when we were developing this scene, to me it was about rhythm.
Right, that was where we started with the whole thing.
This particular character, his rhythm is being thrown off by someone else's problem. Right. But how many times have you tried to serve someone and got off track?
Right.
And it's a misappropriation of your time and a misappropriation of the tools. And it's not necessarily that it's wrong to give or serve, but it's how and with what that you have the capacity to serve with that leaves you either stripped and kind of like, oh, I don't even want to talk to this person the next time they call me. You know, you have to know what's important for you and what the Holy Spirit has given you instructions for. He has somewhere to be. You know, but she had a bigger issue. And we get thrown off by our loyalties all the time. So I just wanted to remind you that these 12 simple thoughts are very much so connected to both of those sides, whether you feel wounded or whether you feel victorious.
All right. And we are moving now to scene 2.
Yeah.
You guys are doing great, by the way. Good stuff. All right.
Another scene. We're at the movies.
All right. We getting in the car.
Yeah.
All right. When you hear us say scene, the scene is on. Scene is on. You are your pastor's child. Free association begins. All right.
Ready? Scene.
Yeah. Okay.
Come on, buckle up.
So, what's up? I know, I sent you the email last night. I sent you the email. It had to be about like 10:25 or whatever. No. All right, got that. What? No. We talked about this last week.
Did you put your seatbelt on?
Can you guys quiet down, please, just for a second? I'm on a business call. Listen. No. All right. If we don't...
Please, Daddy's on a business call. Come on.
1 second, please. Listen, we're gonna deal with this tomorrow. All right, listen. Hold on 1 second. Let me pull out my iPad.
Because I don't know exactly what I'm picking up from the grocery store.
Whatever you want. Yeah. All right. I got it pulled up here. Okay.
But you said that you wanted something specific, and I can't remember what it was earlier.
Right. Whatever you want, we'll get that. So, yeah, I got it right here. All right, perfect. All right, well, just call me back. You see it now? You see it? Yes.
Okay, we're here now. Okay, we're at Whole Foods. Do you know what you want?
Whole Foods? What are we doing? This ain't ShopRite. What do you think? We ain't trying to spend that type of money. What's wrong?
We need to eat more organic food, so
organic
I'm deciding
food?
to go.
Yeah, but you pride me on the phone. I'm sitting here trying to have a conversation. This is how we make the money to be able to...
If you were listening, I would have told you we were going to Whole Foods instead of ShopRite.
Well, okay, so next time, how about this? I won't do the thing that makes us money, and we'll just go ahead and be hungry all together up in here. Is that what you want? You talking about me listening. I'm listening to the call. I'm telling you I need a couple seconds. I'm on a business call.
You're not available right now, and I'm saying to you...
I'm available right now. I'm not even on the phone right now.
You have your phone. You have your iPad. Like, you're doing so many things.
Listen.
How can you possibly focus on me?
I have to focus on different things. I have to focus.
You're not in the office. My God, you're in a car.
Right, but I get to work at home and not be at the office. You want me to go to the office? Because I would be more than... You want me to rent an office? I'm going to rent an office.
No,
so that way when I wake up in the morning, you can call... Right, it'll cost more money.
But you guys, please be quiet. We're trying to have a discussion.
Can you not yell at them like that? Can you not yell at them like that?
I'm not... Listen.
Can you please quiet down? Just quiet down, okay? Just take it easy.
Please just tell me what you want me to buy from the grocery store. I don't want everybody to go...
I try to tell you can get what you want, and you get upset with me. Right, I'm on the phone trying to make...
You just totally dismissed me. I'm trying to...
I didn't dismiss you. I blessed you. I said get what you want.
I love you by cooking for you something that you want. So if you could just tell me, then I could try my best to be a good wife.
Listen, you are a good wife. You know what makes you an even better wife? If you let me be a good husband. Let me make the money that I'm trying to make. Let me make these things. I'm setting up for a bigger future. I see us in a place where we don't have to think about all this money stuff.
Listen, I'm an at-home mom, and I feel like it is my responsibility.
You're an at-home mom, so what do you do at home? I'm saying...
Come on, y'all. We're going to go inside. Let's go.
Unbelievable.
Sing.
Ridiculous. Sing. All right. I made it out of that. We had to end the scene there. It was about to get violent. About to get real violent. We got children in the house. We couldn't go any further.
Okay, same setup, same groups.
Same setup.
You'll pick
group one.
Okay.
You're gonna pick for group two? You gotta give that to
Miss
Michelle, okay?
Okay.
And then she's gonna read it for your group.
It's Excuse me? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't even have a chaperone, but just joking.
Yep, I'm gonna come back over there.
You chiming in on this from Pastor Dan?
All right. What'd you say?
somebody else there rattling off what I'm grateful for. And that literally stops. It's like the emergency brake of the train. Because if I focused on that, because that conversation can happen up here. And then back and forth, before you know it, you can't reason out. You almost have to pull the plane out of a nose down. You just got to pull that straighten out. So sometimes you have to what would it feel like?
By not taking place.
2-minute warning. All right, everybody, we're going to pull it back together now. Seems like we got some captivating discussion going on, aroused from that one.
Okay.
I just want to, before we go any further, remind all the ladies that I was acting. That was a character, a fictitious character.
I heard somebody say there's a shoe with your name on it.
That was there's a fictitious character.
So we'll start with group one, and Erica's going to speak on behalf of her group.
So what our group got out of what we just saw was that to kind of slow down all the conflict, that they should figure out what the next doable step was. One of the things that I mentioned was asking what you're thankful for to get yourself out of that angry place. And, because you could escalate things, and then, like Pastor Dan was saying, one of the kids could have gotten slapped, and then it could have just been just a horrible situation that just didn't have to happen. So since our question was, what's the next doable step, we were kind of focusing on, Eric mentioned speaking life, and mainly just slowing things down to get to the place of practicing the principles even in those kind of high intensity situations. So I think did I miss anything? I think that. What else did we?
Well, I think the next doable step is good, but I think keeping the principles in your mind is the next doable step at all times, especially in high stress. Because that was a very stressful situation. Kids are screaming in the back seat. He's trying to deal with a very stressful situation at work, and she felt extremely disrespected. And rather than saying to her, whatever, which is probably one of the most disrespectful things you can say to anybody, wife or husband, whatever. He was trying to say it nice, whatever you want, which is not any different than whatever. And so, rather than saying whatever, he could have said, baby, you make good decisions. Right. And if he'd have said that, boom, that would have elevated the conversation into the common language. But then the mistake that he made additionally was once they showed up at Whole Foods, because she does make good decisions, he's like, shop right we're going back to ShopRite now. So when you say you make good decisions, part of that is being a father is simply to say, all right, you made a decision, I got your back because that was a good decision. And sometimes you have to just kind of go with that. And if he's they went into all sorts of things, but that next doable step, always, almost always the next doable step is rise into the basics. Yes. For everybody to rise. And if he doesn't, she needs to. And if she doesn't, he needs to. And so that's where we really, really begin to flow in that. Group number 2.
Excellent. Excellent. Kim's enjoying it. We are in a good place.
Hi, everyone. So group 2, we had, what was ours? Oh. What are you grateful for? And one of the things that I'm going to highlight 4 points. Angie wrote it, so I'm sorry, Angie. Well, I'm just going to say what I said then, and you can. I was just saying timing, that they were out of season, and we tend to do that as not just married couples, but not all of us. Like if sometimes we're offering advice or maybe even ministry, it might be out of season with that person, where that person is at that time. So we might have been giving information that's not the right information at that time. So that was one of the things that I said. There wasn't a plan. So we had talked about perhaps Taharqa taking the call before they even pulled out of the driveway, and they not move any place before they had a plan. And then we talked about the different things, where we had 5 things to be grateful for, that Drea would be able to stay home, and that they have money to buy the groceries and all these things. That she would have just rattled off that. Right. And they had a great car with gas, able to get someplace. So they got to Whole Foods. Now they're going back to ShopRite, so they had gas. And, so there were different things like that. You want to add anything?
Just a little. Valerie pretty much covered it. Along the lines of the basics, and how we, just to say what we're grateful for. If they had pulled what we kind of call the emergency brake, if they had pulled the brake and said, stop, we're going to say what we're grateful for. Because sometimes when you're offendedness and offense through some things that, were overlooked, like a plan, like being thoughtful. If you pull that emergency brake and just stop the train from barreling forward and just start naming off, and Valerie mentioned those things, a lot of times that can pull your mind to a whole nother place. Yes. I mean, and I know we were talking in our group how we literally, I tell people all the time, a remedy for depression is gratefulness. Stop in the middle of your spiral in your mind, because that conversation happens up here with those opposing thoughts. If you just stop and just say what you're grateful for, that can pull you up out of that because we can come up with a million reasons to why something didn't work or why somebody else is at fault. And that gratefulness and being able to rattle those off and just get it in your mind is such a good tool. And I think had they done that, and also with planning the Sunday night meeting and sticking to a plan, know that you're going to Whole Foods or wherever you're going. So it wouldn't be a question when you're in the car and you have a variable that happens, a phone call that has to happen. You already know where we're going is here, and what we're getting is this. So we're not saving it for a conversation in a car full of kids, loud, high stress. It just doesn't happen. These two also didn't really give each other voice. They were kind of trying to stabilize themselves, like being two individuals in a bubble. You can't really do that. You have to find the relationship between the two to make the bubble the bubble. Otherwise, you just have two people in a bubble that aren't working together, that are constantly in an imbalance. And I think had they been able to do that, that might have gotten them the nose of their plane leveled a lot faster.
Yeah.
Now,
That's
with these two, they are a couple, and for those who are married, you understand that you have a common language here. This is what we talk about with the 12 simple thoughts and the 5 questions. It's our common language. It's our way to have things at our disposal when things could become high stress, that could take you out of your lane, that could get you off your rhythm, because that argument could throw off the entire week. It could throw off the children. And in terms of serving, when I think about serving, I'm thinking about being an example. We're not really serving our children very well by setting the example that a discussion has to be some high-octane argument.
And being grateful for our children right there could have stopped the discussion.
Yeah.
Could have stopped the argument.
Oh, my God, they're here.
De-escalated things and connecting the two thoughts. What's your next doable step? What Pastor Dan was saying, bringing these principles to mind is the next step. If you're not grateful for the principles, they can't come to mind.
And if you don't know them, if they're not readily available.
Right. You won't learn them if you're not grateful for them, which is the part of all of this kind of, just to kind of put that again out there, the principles always work. They are always applicable. Yeah. All of them are always, and this is the way we kind of, in our time together, get to kind of see, that's an angle. That's something else to look at. So, excellent. We're going to move forward.
Group 3, destinations.
Destinations. Destinations.
We got no second-class citizens, and we were talking about how like his phone, his job, his money is like second to his wife and his family in the situation, and there was absolutely no collaboration between them. Like it feels, and the wife felt like she had to make up for staying at home and taking care of the kids. Like she felt like she was second class in that way by getting him expensive food and making him exactly what he wanted. And in that effort, he was being ungrateful for what she was trying to do for him. And also, when the husband said that, well, he basically, when he denied her the opportunity to serve him like that, he was basically saying if she wanted to be a good wife, she could stop spending his hard-earned money on Whole Foods and we can go to ShopRite and just make whatever. So... And then the last thing where we talked about was when he said, what are you doing at home? He feels like he's pulling all the weight in the family, and that's another way he's making her a second-class citizen, like childcare isn't important at all. Yeah, that's about it. Did I miss anything?
That's awesome. Great. Yes. Thank you, Destiny.
Excellent. Very good. Remember, no second-class citizens. That's one of those. It's really cool to think about it because it levels the playing field, which allows for communication. Yeah. I'm not bigger or less than you.
Everybody plays a part.
Yeah, I'm not a second-class citizen, and you're not a second-class citizen, so I need to hear you out and hope you hear me out. Ladies, stay over here, please.
Okay, the question we got was, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? And we looked at some of the things that were addressed already, that she was not being validated. But if they knew they couldn't fail, they would work together and give each other the space that they need. He was on the phone. She knows that in his work, that would happen. So if they agreed ahead of time, this is how we handle certain situations, then there wouldn't have been a problem. She would have given him the space, and he would have, when he was finished, said, I'm sorry, we had the phone call. What is it that you need me to do? Then they would work together. Because when you are planning a future bigger than where you are now, it takes sacrifice on both parts to accomplish it. And that's what you do if you knew you couldn't fail. You work together, and there would be a give and take, because in the end you're working towards a common goal, and there's respect for her and the role she's playing as a wife and mother, and respect for him as the breadwinner, because you're on the same road towards the same goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah. One of those cool questions about what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Our tech crew, Mike, you the spokesman for this one again? Sometimes you're doing something with the pressure of feeling like, if I don't do this, I'm going to fail. And when you start acting like that, you have to remind yourself, what are you really doing? The thing that you're really doing that you can't fail at removes that pressure. And if you're maybe doing something that you can fail at, maybe you need to change what you're doing so that you're on the path to the thing that you can go at the deepest part of it, say, I know ultimately I won't fail. There might be failures along the way, relative failures, but to get into that bigger picture again, it's what am I grateful for and what is my next doable step are triggered off by what would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? Or maybe vice versa. They all work together again. And just
this is where I was challenged too, because I felt like the 5 questions couldn't apply in something so immediate. And this is happening right now. How do I apply? What would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? Right now I'm in an argument about food. Right. But when I was listening into this group, Gloria was challenging the thought of, you know, how does our opinion about what happened get us to this question? And the question of what would you do if you knew you wouldn't fail is, to me, I started to hear it during their discussion as, what would I do if I wasn't so offended? Like, what could possibly happen? Could we possibly agree? Could we change the whole course of our day and our week and I guess ultimately the marriage? What would you do if failure, if offense, if annoyance, if, you know, if this thing wasn't the case? What would you do? I would be more pleasant. I would be more proactive. I would be, you know what I mean? And so that's kind of how I started to think about the 5 questions. That I had a big roadblock with that. Sorry, Michael.
Okay, our group, well, the one we got, we could also just state it and be done with it. Forgive and be forgiven often.
Yeah. Amen.
So I think that's the, that's just so key. I mean, with all that we sit up and learn, how much we're in the Word and how much we come together and discuss all these principles, there are always going to be little moments where you can get off just a little bit. And especially when you're in relationships, the closer you get with people and the more you interact with them, there's just more opportunity for you to get on each other's nerves. Right. You know, and to do little things that could offend them. And you know them well enough to know the buttons and the things to say to kind of pinch them a little bit. Of course, that never happens with me and Janice. But you have to be, so we have to forgive. We have to forgive.
Baby.
And be forgiven often. You know. And that goes all the way right to Yahweh. He doesn't disqualify us. You know, we are, we're transformed by the renewing of our minds. We have to do that constantly. You know, we know because we've heard the word, but we have to hear it every day. We have to constantly renew our minds every day, and we have to constantly try to pull ourselves back on track. Because every once in a while, things happen, and you'll get off a little bit. So you have to forgive each other. You have to forgive yourself, and you have to be forgiven by allowing Yahweh to forgive you when you do get off track a little bit.
Sir. Yes, sir.
That's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have time for the final one? We really don't. Okay.
All right. Well, can we tie it up real quick? Sure. All right. So, great work, y'all. There's just great engagement. We started saying that this was the whole title of it all was "Follow Me." Mm-hmm. Now, what we're really in the process of doing, and Drea convinced me not to say this at the beginning, and I'm grateful because that was great. Good call. We're creating a game. We're creating an actual kind of a board game that deals with all the principles, that deals with all the basics that we have and puts them into practical terms. Now, in the brainstorming of the game, we kind of have this marriage of like Trivial Pursuit meets like cash flow and meets like charades and taboo. The idea of different rings, so to speak, different levels. And the real idea of follow me, the game will be played in teams. This is the beginning kind of idea. This is not set in stone. The game will be played in teams, and in order for one person on the team to get to the next level, it's like you have to either apply all the principles from within that particular ring, and then whoever gets all those principles then can move out to the outer ring, and then everybody else on that person's team is able to move out as well once one person does it. We have two things at play all the time, which I am completely sold on. In deeper life, we have to do this. When we talk about serving people, you can't serve anybody if you're not in a real process. Your process is what serves more than any of these basics alone. As you saw in the first scene, one of the things about that was that there was a demand on the basics in that person. There was a demand on the principles that was, in essence, pulling this person off his schedule to some degree. That can be dangerous. These things work. So you might be led to go ahead and do them. Meanwhile, you could displace yourself. At the same time, you could say maybe that was Yahweh's way of keeping that person out of getting that role. You know, these are the hypotheticals. And what we present in kind of the development of this game, we want to ask you as well, we could think it out more, if at every, whether it's every master class or every conference call, we dedicate some time to creating these scenarios, to creating this, to addressing it and fleshing out the ideas, because it's our voices, it's our actual experiences.
Our stories.
Our stories are the things that are really going to speak loudest. And we want you to know that while you're engaging this whole weekend or while you're engaging deeper life in general, it's your engagement in what you're doing. It's not the little things you do. It's not like, when do I ask the 5 questions? It's how do the 5 questions shape my context?
Or to be so quick to ask someone else.
Right.
You being in the process of answering these questions or applying these principles in a scenario is the largest witness to someone else. And so that's...
And getting somebody to answer them for themselves sometimes without you having asked them.
Yeah.
There's this inception thing that happens that because you're meditating on one of the 5 questions in your mind as you talk to somebody,
the witnesses
later on, they might come up with the answer to, what would you do if you knew you wouldn't fail? Or they might come up with the answer to, what do I do next? Just because you were thinking about it and you didn't necessarily say it. So this is the beauty of engaging all the principles. Like Pastor Dan said yesterday, these are not ideas. This is the Holy Spirit. This is the truth that makes you free to actually affect your own lives and affect other people. So hopefully we can continue the brainstorm and create this as a real tool. Not only this isn't for everybody else. This is for us. This is for what we're doing for our vision. Even in producing this, we're following this idea. Like, we're pursuing this game in ourselves, this development of it. And in doing that, we engaged everybody. And now everybody's connected to it. Now you all have an idea that this is happening and this is how it grows. It's not one person or just 2 people. This is the family and this is all of us in motion. So we just want to keep that out there. And if you want to engage, we also want to leave it open for you to just email us directly at any point. We want the discourse to be happening constantly. And we can, again, kind of discuss, like, if there's a portion of each time we come together at the end or before or during that we can dedicate to this. I mean, this process blesses me and myself. Like, I'm getting answers now in the course of looking for, it's not just about the game, it's all practical. It's only doing one thing. Yeah, that makes sense?
Thank you so much for participating so willingly.
Yeah, thank you.
When I look at the big picture of what's going on, I don't think it's a mistake that we have so many performers at the beginning of this incubation period in artists and performers, because we're creating something. And the thing that actors, writers, musicians do in order to expand their craft is, first of all, they have to develop some foundational skills. So that means they have to practice. And that means you have to, you don't get to be an actor, a singer, or a performer, or a writer even, without getting good at your craft. And you don't get to do any of it until you're good.
Right.
And so a lot of times what happens to believers is they just think, I am a believer. But it's just not the case, because we don't want to pay forward you with all your stupidity. Sorry about the use of words there. It's probably a little too strong. You with all your preconceived self-righteousness, which is really what it is. You think just because you show up at church, you're like Jesus. But the fact of the matter is it takes a moment to develop. And it takes a moment to bring it to that place, you know. And so God has orchestrated a team to prototype what we're doing here to pay life forward. And all you have to do to get better and to become more like that is, first of all, is just to participate. Because when they were talking about having access to the principles, I think of the 5 questions, the 12 simple thoughts, the 9 fruits of the Spirit, the Sunday night meeting, the tablecloth meeting, the 2 monthly calls, the rhythm, the two annual conferences, the master class, the reading and rhythm, the red letters. I think of all those things. They're always accessible to me. And what happens to me, and Taharqa has seen this on many occasions when he's been with me, others have seen it. I'll be out to dinner with somebody who's a top business guy, and these things are spinning. And all of a sudden, he'll say something, and it'll stop on one of the tools. And then once it stops on the tools, I wait, and then I apply the tool. And Taharqa's like, all right, that's a tool. He hears the language. Wow, it's applicable here. You know, whether it's with a successful person or whether it's with somebody who's just, you know, could barely pick his head up off the street because he just got his teeth kicked in the night before at a homeless shelter, the principles work no matter where you are. And the key is, and I bring it up all the time, is practice. So the game that they're creating, and we discussed it a lot afterwards, is something that is just about practicing. You know, practicing working these principles. Now, what we don't have time for, what I'd like to do is I'd like to grab somebody and show you an impromptu, fictitious scene about what goes on when you're on purpose doing a Sunday night meeting or a tablecloth meeting. But just because I do it all the time, I could just grab and scare the beans out of Angela because she knows that I do that prophetically. So when I do it, she's always like, how do you know that? And there's never any judgment that I bring to it, but I always pick up on what's really going on that she's not telling me. Or cause I bring up Angela because we've had a few of them together, especially the first one when she first got here and we sat like right over here and she's like, Pastor Dan, what's Drea telling you? Right? That's how it feels. But the point is that the principles are Holy Ghost driven. So the way they spin is right to the point or the heart of the matter. But what you have to do is not be religious. Your job is to redeem, reconcile, and restore. So your job is to just help them move forward. And your job is to let them come to the conclusion. You don't tell them what to do. You just share with them the principles. You keep on the course of the basics, and then they make the decisions because they make good decisions, right? And so you just, here's what I think. But a lot of times you don't know, even when you're prophetic. You know, you don't know exactly all the circumstances because in most cases, the person doesn't tell you all the details. They leave out probably the most painful one, the most pressing one. So even if they give you 9 out of 10 details, you can't really size it all up and say, do this. You just got to, here's what you always say, work the basics. Right. I trust you. You make good decisions. So I love this interactive setting. I think Deeper Life needs to be more like this. Well, frankly, it is like this. This is how it is. The 2 scenes they came up with are straight out of their life. Right? Well, no, I mean, let's face it. Those are scenes that have happened in your life, no doubt about it. I mean, not exactly, maybe, but I would say pretty close to exactly. You know, pretty close. It's in there. You know.
I did not ever say that. I never. The second scene, I've never said be at home.
No, you went. I believe that.
Yeah,
I believe that, and I believe. But you know, at the same time, I could see those scenes in their lives, and so a lot of times when we get together as groups and stuff, the performers are going to be comfortable with that. But the rest of you need to practice too. and apply these things. So when you have conversations and how do I serve this person? As somebody who's a little more advanced, as Gloria was doing in this group, you tell me, how do you apply that? Well, this one doesn't seem to apply. No, it applies. How does it apply? Keep thinking. Keep thinking, What would you do if you knew you wouldn't fail? How does that apply in this car scene? Doesn't seem like it applies at all. I felt like the scene, what is our next doable step, didn't apply. I'm like, what? How does that not apply? Right. They do apply. Yeah. And when you realize they do it, a lot of times what happens in life is you're looking out here for something new to solve your problem. Yes. And we've been given the basic thoughts, we've been given and all of these are founded on the gospel, right? All on the Word of God. So rather than what I have doesn't work, which is what we almost always say, I got to find me a new church. I got to find me a new school. I got to find me a new spouse. That's what happens. Rather than trusting that God has orchestrated. For example, I was watching, and I'm going to close up and you can go to lunch, John Maxwell yesterday, and his philosophy is, if people don't do what I say, just really get rid of them. But I don't believe that about what we're doing in here. I believe that God sends us people and that we have to figure out who we are, why we are who we are, stay together, but participate. And I'm doing that, but a lot of people, they don't really get that because the voices of the world are about, what does the world do? New companies start all the time. New products start all the time. New celebrities all the time. They're all trying to say to you, I'm better than what you had. Or, I'm better than what you have. Or, I'm better than you. It's always. And all of that is just not true. The Bible, the gospel, Jesus, these principles are better than what they have, which is what Angela said. We are ground zero. Right? Isn't that what she said? Stop, and once you get that, Eric was got this new job, right, at Verizon. How great is that? Anybody in here, you need a new job, you need to call into that prayer call, get your new job, amen? But what he realized was, when he started evangelizing on the street and started putting God first and pursuing his gift, he started then doing what he learned, which at first he thought, well, Pastor Dan's going to show me what to do and all the different things, and he's going to walk right. No, I'm not. You're going to get out there and you're going to do it, and you're going to learn by the Holy Ghost to do it. And then what happened was, I got to trust God. Yes. That's right. I got to trust God. So where am I going to get my job? Prayer call. Because I got to trust God. But then he started realizing, and I pointed it out to him, not only is the job working out, not only are other things working out, but now he's got a pretty girlfriend now. No, she was here one Wednesday night. But the point is that I'm making is that seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Surely goodness and mercy will follow you. See? What's the point? The point is, you don't go looking for goodness and mercy. You don't go looking for rent or clothes. It's not why you come to church. Seek first the kingdom and follow the shepherd. Which is what they were talking about there with follow me. And so the beauty of these internalized Jesus thoughts, because I'm not smart enough to come up with refuse to be offended, give yourself to your gift, speak well of each other, forgive and be forgiven, encourage yourself. These all come completely out of the teachings of Jesus. So it's, people say to me all the time, man, you're the king of the one-liners. Man, as a matter of fact, I was with a doctor of divinity at lunch the other day talking about, You know, when you kind of have an understanding of a subject, he said, you could write a 10,000 word piece on it. But when you really come to understand, you can say it in 500 words. But when you're a master, you say it in 2 sentences. And Dan just answered 50 of your questions in 2 sentences. Because honestly, and I say this to Taharqa all the time as he's developing, simpler, simpler, simpler. Because he sees it, and he likes the layers. He likes the layers, you know. And he likes to describe the layers. He likes to riff on the layers. If he's playing music, he wants to play a ninth, and then a fifth, and then an augmented third. You know, it's like he's like, because he knows it all. It's all there, and he wants to dance on it. But he simpler. There's a mastery in simpler that allows other people to come. And in his game, as he talks about this, cash flow is a game where people can play. It takes 10 hours to win that game if you're playing with people who don't know what they're doing. But if one person who really knows what they're doing in cash flow, they can win that game in 45 minutes, and the next thing you know, everybody else in the game is out in 2 hours. They gain mastery just by being around a master. And so to create that into the deeper life game, that concept is something we want to do. Plus, me not jumping in and dominating every conversation allows you to discover, which is what Taharqa is talking about, the process. Otherwise, you're not gonna own this. So we're taking our time with deeper life to a certain extent, because we don't want to pay forward our philosophies. We all are in the process, myself included, of becoming more like Jesus. Does that make sense? All right, here's the scoop. We're done for this session in the morning. Did you guys get something out of that? Let's give Taharqa and Drea a big hand clap. Yeah. And I think we can get proactive. We got till June to really roll this out. We can get it out even before, but we can really think about that. Did you enjoy that interactive, the drama part of it? For the accountants and other types of folks, you know. So I always say that, but one of my friend Matthew Deutsch is probably the funniest accountant I know. Have you ever seen him do Bill Cosby? Yeah. He's very funny, so he's very creative. Sometimes accountants can be very creative, so I mean, I shouldn't pick on them, or lawyers or what have you. They're just like the funniest people. But go have some lunch. Larry is going to speak at 2:15. We're going to start. So let everybody know it's 2:15 out there. Put something on Facebook or whatever you got to do to get everybody online to know. But be back so we can be 2:15. Janan just called me. Her plane had been delayed hours, but she's here now. She's in the city. They'll be settling in. So we'll see her at 2:15. And Eliel and Safai were so much better that time. Yes, very good, Eliel. Awesome. I learned it. You were pretty good. I'm not saying perfect, but pretty good.
Mike, I'm going to cut it off so it doesn't get feedback.
Yes, 1 second.